My brother and I escaped our narcissistic mother years ago, creating a life where we could finally heal from her manipulation and abuse. When Jason met Amanda, she seemed to understand the importance of maintaining our boundaries with our mother. What I never expected was for Amanda to secretly contact our mother and invite her to the wedding without telling Jason. When he discovered this betrayal, he immediately called off the wedding. Now, 3 months later, Amanda claims she is pregnant with my brother's child, but refuses to take a paternity test. The timing is suspicious, and we believe this might be her final attempt at manipulation. Drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had to protect your boundaries from toxic family members. To understand why my brother Jason canceled his wedding, you need to understand what growing up with our mother was like. From the outside, we appeared to be a normal middle-class family in suburban Pennsylvania. Our father worked in sales, often traveling, while our mother maintained what looked like a perfect home. She was active in the PTA, hosted dinner parties, and always presented herself as the ideal mother to the outside world. Behind closed doors, however, we experienced a different reality. Our mother Diane was what therapists would later identify as a malignant narcissist. Everything in our home revolved around her needs, her moods, and her image. If either of us received attention or achievements that outshone her, the punishment was swift and calculated. When I was 11, I won a regional spelling bee that was featured in the local newspaper. Instead of celebrating, my mother spent the entire evening telling relatives and neighbors about how she had been the state spelling champion in her youth, a complete fabrication, and how she had coached me extensively. She had not helped at all. When we returned home, she threw away my trophy, claiming it was cluttering up the house. The next day, she conveniently forgot to drive me to the state competition. Jason, 2 years younger than me, faced similar treatment. His talent for drawing earned him recognition from art teachers, which our mother counteracted by telling everyone his artwork was just copies of pictures she had taken. She would often throw away his art supplies during her cleaning frenzies, claiming they made too much mess. The emotional manipulation was even more damaging than these specific incidents. Our mother expertly played us against each other, telling each of us privately that the other had said hurtful things, causing needless childhood fights. She would withdraw affection completely for days if we displeased her, creating an anxious attachment pattern that followed us into adulthood. Any expression of our own needs was labeled as selfish and ungrateful, while complete submission to her demands was the only way to temporarily earn her approval. Our father, though not abusive himself, was largely absent and enabled her behavior through his silence. When we tried to tell him about her treatment, he would say, "That is just how your mother shows love." Or, "She had a difficult childhood herself." His failure to protect us added another layer to our childhood trauma. After years of therapy as adults, both Jason and I made the difficult decision to go no contact with our mother when I was 28 and Jason was 26. Our father had passed away by then, and without his mediating presence, our mother's behavior had escalated to new levels of manipulation. The final straw came when she deliberately caused a scene at my graduate school graduation, claiming to have a medical emergency that diverted all attention to her, only to make a miraculous recovery once my ceremony had concluded. Going no contact was not a decision we made lightly, but it was necessary for our healing. Over the next 4 years, we built lives defined by our own choices rather than reactions to her manipulation. Jason developed a successful career as a graphic designer, and I worked as a clinical social worker, specializing in family trauma. Ironically, my childhood had prepared me well for understanding the dynamics of toxic family systems. We established a small but solid support network of chosen family, protecting each other from our mother's periodic attempts to re-establish contact through flying monkeys, distant relatives, or old family friends who would suddenly reach out with messages about how your mother has changed or she is getting older and needs you. We became experts at recognizing these manipulation attempts and standing firm in our boundaries. Throughout these years, Jason and I maintained a pact to protect each other and to respect each other's decisions regarding our family of origin. We promised to never go behind each other's back regarding contact with our mother, recognizing that united boundaries were our best defense against her manipulative tactics. This pact became the foundation of our adult relationship, built on mutual respect and understanding that many siblings never achieve. Jason met Amanda at a marketing conference where they were both representing their respective companies. He was immediately drawn to her confidence and warm smile. According to Jason, they spent the entire evening at the conference networking event deep in conversation, discovering shared interests in indie films, hiking, and rescue dogs. By the end of the weekend conference, they had exchanged numbers and made plans for a proper date back in their shared hometown. When Jason first introduced me to Amanda 2 months into their relationship, I was cautiously optimistic. She seemed genuinely kind, laughing easily, and showing real interest in our conversations. Most importantly, she appeared supportive of Jason, complimenting his work and ideas without the subtle undercutting we had grown up experiencing from our mother. Their relationship progressed quickly. Amanda moved into Jason's apartment after 6 months, and they adopted a rescue dog together at the 8-month mark. Watching my brother build a life with someone who seemed to value him properly brought me immense joy. He had struggled more than I had with forming healthy relationships his previous girlfriends, often exhibiting concerning similarities to our mother's controlling tendencies. Amanda, by contrast, seemed to represent a healthy break from that pattern. When Jason called me bursting with excitement about his proposal plans 9 months into their relationship, I was slightly concerned about the timeline but kept those thoughts to myself. He had planned an elaborate proposal during a weekend trip to the Finger Lakes, complete with a sunset boat ride and a photographer hidden nearby to capture the moment. Amanda had said yes immediately, posting multiple angles of the ring, a vintage sapphire that had belonged to our paternal grandmother, on her social media accounts within the hour. During one of our regular brother-sister dinner nights shortly after the engagement, Jason mentioned that he had shared the basics about our family situation with Amanda. She completely understands why we maintain no contact, he assured me. She said family should support healing, not force reconciliations that would cause more damage. I remember feeling relieved at this statement, though. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to a brief comment Amanda made later that same evening. As we discussed potential wedding venues, she mentioned somewhat wistfully, "It is a shame the guest list will be so small on your side. Most weddings I have been to have had such big family sections." At the time, I interpreted this as a simple observation rather than the first hint of what would become a significant issue. Jason readily agreed that quality of relationships mattered more than quantity, and Amanda nodded along the moment passing without further comment. Amanda integrated herself into our small circle of friends with apparent ease. She organized game nights, remembered everyone's birthdays, and seemed genuinely invested in building connections with the people important to Jason. I occasionally noticed that she tended to dominate conversations and subtly redirect attention back to herself when others were speaking. But I dismissed these observations as potentially unfair comparisons to our mother's similar behavior. With the engagement official, our small family circle celebrated the beginning of what we all believed would be a healing new chapter in Jason's life. Finally, one of us had found a partner who seemed to truly understand and respect our past, while focusing on building a healthy future. Wedding planning began with genuine excitement. Jason and Amanda decided on a relatively short 6-month engagement, aiming for a fall ceremony at a renovated barn venue about an hour outside of our city. Initially, the planning process brought out the best in their relationship. Jason's creativity and Amanda's organizational skills complemented each other perfectly as they designed invitations and selected decor. However, as weeks passed, I began noticing subtle shifts in Amanda's approach to the wedding. What had started as a celebration of their relationship increasingly became focused on creating what Amanda called the perfect Instagram wedding. She began following numerous wedding influencers, comparing her plans to the elaborate celebrations she saw online. The reasonable budget they had initially agreed upon gradually expanded, as Amanda added elements she considered non-negotiable for her special day. The simple but elegant floral arrangements were upgraded to elaborate installations. The planned buffet dinner became a plated 5-course meal. The guest list from her side grew from 60 to over 100, while Jason's remained at a modest 20 friends and colleagues. When Jason gently raised concerns about the expanding costs, Amanda became tearful, asking if he even wanted to celebrate their love properly. These conversations typically ended with Jason apologizing and agreeing to the additional expenses to keep peace. I observed these interactions with growing discomfort, recognizing patterns of emotional manipulation similar to those our mother had employed, though far more subtle. Amanda's social media presence became increasingly centered around her identity as a bride-to-be. She posted daily countdown updates, created a wedding-specific Instagram account, and spent hours perfecting the aesthetic of her wedding planning photos. While Jason initially found her enthusiasm charming, I noticed his expression tightening when she would interrupt their dinner to stage another photo of her engagement ring beside their meals. Despite these concerning behaviors, I hesitated to voice my observations directly. Jason seemed genuinely happy overall, and I worried that expressing my concerns might seem like I was trying to sabotage his relationship. As someone who had also struggled with establishing healthy relationships after our upbringing, I questioned whether I was being overly sensitive or projecting our mother's traits onto an innocent enthusiasm for wedding planning. The wedding represented more than just a ceremony for Jason. It symbolized the creation of a new family based on choice, rather than obligation, built on respect, rather than fear. I wanted desperately for this new beginning to be everything he hoped for, and so I kept my concerns to myself, offering support and assistance while watching carefully for any escalation in Amanda's concerning behaviors. As the wedding date approached, conversations about family involvement grew increasingly tense. What began as casual questions about our extended family gradually became more pointed inquiries about our mother specifically. During a menu tasting session 3 months before the wedding, Amanda broached the subject directly for the first time. I was thinking, she began, arranging her napkin carefully, that maybe we should reconsider inviting your mother to the wedding. Jason froze mid-bite, his expression immediately closing off. That is not up for discussion, Amanda. We have talked about this. I know, she said, reaching for his hand. But weddings are about family coming together. Maybe this could be an opportunity for healing. People change, and it has been years since you have spoken to her. The reason it has been years is that the last time we spoke, she threatened to tell my employer I had stolen from her when I refused to loan her money. Jason replied, his voice tight. Nothing about that relationship is healthy, and bringing her into our wedding day would only create stress and drama. Amanda sighed heavily. I just think family should be together at weddings. My entire extended family is coming, and it seems sad that your mother will miss her only son's wedding. Everyone deserves a second chance. This pattern repeated with increasing frequency. Amanda would raise the subject of inviting our mother. Jason would firmly refuse, and she would respond with passive-aggressive comments about forgiveness and family harmony. What Jason didn't know then was that Amanda's persistence wasn't simply coming from a place of abstract belief in family reconciliation. She had already initiated contact with our mother. The discovery of Amanda's betrayal came accidentally. Jason had been using Amanda's laptop to finish some work while his was being repaired, and a Facebook message notification appeared from an unfamiliar profile named Diane New Beginning. The transparent alias our mother used after her main profile had been blocked by both of us years earlier. The preview text was damning. So excited about the wedding invitation, I have already bought my mother of the groom dress and booked my hotel. Jason clicked on the message thread and discovered weeks of correspondence between Amanda and our mother. The initial contact had been made by Amanda nearly 2 months earlier. Hello, I am engaged to your son Jason and would like to discuss the possibility of reconciliation before our wedding. What followed were dozens of exchanges in which our mother had done what she does best, painted herself as the victim of ungrateful, cruel children, spinning elaborate tales of her suffering and loneliness. Amanda had been completely taken in, responding with sympathy and assurances that she would help heal the family despite Jason's stubbornness. Most disturbingly, Amanda had shared intimate details about their relationship and Jason's personal life, feeding information to a woman who had always used personal details as ammunition. She had sent photos of their apartment, described Jason's current projects at work, and even discussed their future plans for children, all precious data that would give our mother endless material for future manipulation. When Jason confronted Amanda that evening, she initially responded with indignation rather than remorse. You went through my private messages, she demanded, attempting to flip the narrative to make herself the victim. The message notification popped up while I was working. Jason explained, his voice shaking with emotion. How could you go behind my back like this? You know what this woman did to us. You have only told your side of the story, Amanda replied, her tone suddenly cold. Your mother seems genuinely remorseful and wants to reconnect. I think you are dwelling on the past instead of allowing for growth and change. Jason stared at her in disbelief. My side of the story? You think decades of emotional abuse is just my perspective? That my decision to protect my mental health is stubborn dwelling on the past? I think family is important, Amanda insisted. And I think excluding your mother from our wedding is cruel. She gave birth to you, raised you. She tortured us psychologically for years, Jason interrupted. And now I discover you have not only been talking to her behind my back, but have shared personal information about my life with her. The argument escalated with Amanda refusing to acknowledge the severity of her betrayal. Instead, she doubled down, revealing that she had already sent a formal invitation to our mother without Jason's knowledge or consent. I already invited her, she admitted defiantly. The invitations went out last week and I added her to the list. She has already RSVP'd. Yes. This revelation left Jason with an impossible choice. Proceed with a wedding now tainted by betrayal, and face his abuser on what should have been one of the happiest days of his life, or cancel the entire event. He gave Amanda an ultimatum that night. Either she contact his mother immediately to retract the invitation, or the wedding would be called off. Amanda refused, claiming it would be humiliating to uninvite someone and that it was too late to make changes to the guest list. Her refusal revealed how little she truly understood or respected the trauma Jason had experienced and his right to establish boundaries for his own well-being. The conflict escalated beyond their relationship when Amanda involved her family in the dispute. She presented them with a heavily edited version of events, casting Jason as unreasonable and controlling for wanting to dictate who she could talk to. Her parents and siblings began calling and texting Jason, pressuring him to compromise and not ruin the wedding over one guest. The unified front from Amanda's family created immense pressure, but to his credit, Jason remained firm in his position. His boundary was not merely a preference, but a necessary protection of his mental health. The fact that neither Amanda nor her family could respect this fundamental need revealed a profound incompatibility in values. After 3 days of continuous pressure arguments and attempted manipulation, Jason made the painful decision to call off the wedding entirely. He announced his decision first to Amanda privately, then composed a brief, dignified email to all guests, explaining that the wedding had been canceled and that they apologized for any inconvenience. The cancellation itself became a dramatic spectacle despite Jason's attempts at discretion. Amanda took to social media immediately, posting a tear-stained selfie with a vague caption about being devastated by betrayal without providing specific details, a classic technique for garnering sympathy while controlling the narrative. The financial implications were significant. Deposits had been paid to numerous vendors, many of which were non-refundable, this close to the event date. Jason offered to cover Amanda's family's portion of these lost costs, despite being under no legal obligation to do so. A gesture that was met with demands for additional compensation for emotional distress. While Jason retreated from social media and declined to engage with the public drama, Amanda continued posting cryptic updates and allowing her followers to speculate wildly in the comments, never correcting misperceptions that painted Jason in a negative light. Her performance of victimhood was reminiscent of our mother's tactics, a parallel that became increasingly difficult to ignore. Jason moved temporarily into my guest room, needing space from the apartment he had shared with Amanda. He requested that she find alternative accommodation for a few weeks, while he processed the end of their relationship and made arrangements for one of them to take over the lease permanently. This reasonable request was characterized by Amanda as throwing her out on the street, though she had multiple family members in the area with whom she could stay. For approximately 2 months following the canceled wedding, Jason focused on rebuilding his life and healing from the betrayal. He attended therapy sessions twice weekly, reconnected with friends who had been somewhat sidelined during his relationship with Amanda, and began making plans to relocate to a new apartment, seeking a fresh start. Then, just as he seemed to be regaining his equilibrium, Amanda dropped another bombshell. Through a mutual friend, she announced that she was pregnant and that Jason was the father. The timing immediately raised suspicions. Their relationship had ended almost exactly 2 months prior, and according to Amanda, she was already 10 weeks pregnant. While technically possible, the timeline seemed conveniently designed to suggest conception had occurred just before their breakup. When Jason reached out directly to discuss the situation, Amanda was immediately hostile and defensive. "I thought you should know you were going to be a father," she stated flatly. "I expect you to take financial responsibility even if you want nothing to do with your child." Jason, stunned, but trying to respond responsibly, asked the obvious question, "Would you be willing to take a paternity test so we can be certain?" Her response was immediate and aggressive. "The fact that you would even ask that proves what kind of person you are," she snapped. "This is exactly why I did not tell you in person. I knew you would accuse me of lying." "I am not accusing you of anything," Jason tried to explain. "But given the timing and the way our relationship ended, I think a paternity test is a reasonable step before I make any commitments." Amanda categorically refused, claiming that requesting a paternity test was an insult to her character and showed a disgusting lack of trust. This refusal only intensified Jason's suspicions, particularly when coupled with her family's immediate and aggressive campaign, insisting he step up and take responsibility without any verification of paternity. As news of Amanda's alleged pregnancy spread through our social circle, she escalated her tactics by launching a coordinated social media campaign designed to pressure Jason publicly. What began as vague allusions to her situation quickly evolved into direct accusations. "Never thought I would be navigating pregnancy alone after being abandoned by my baby's father," she posted, accompanied by a photo of what appeared to be an early-stage ultrasound image. The post garnered hundreds of sympathetic comments and shares from people unaware of the full context. Amanda carefully constructed her narrative, presenting herself as the devoted partner who had been callously discarded over a minor disagreement about wedding guests. She strategically omitted any mention of her betrayal of Jason's trust or her refusal to verify her pregnancy claims with a paternity test. Most disturbingly, she began sharing selected screenshots of text conversations with Jason, edited to remove her provocative messages and showing only his increasingly frustrated responses. Without context, these messages created the impression that Jason was coldly dismissing a pregnant ex-fiancée rather than reasonably requesting verification before accepting paternity. The impact on my brother's life was immediate and severe. Mutual friends began contacting him with concerned messages, asking why he was abandoning his responsibilities. Colleagues at his workplace became noticeably cooler toward him as Amanda's carefully crafted narrative spread. His professional reputation, built over years of dedicated work, was being systematically undermined by a person who claimed to have once loved him. I attempted to defend my brother while respecting his privacy privately, contacting close friends to provide greater context for the situation. However, in the court of public opinion, the pregnant ex-fiancée narrative proved compelling regardless of the nuances or missing information. Jason's mental health, already strained from the wedding cancellation aftermath, deteriorated further under this new onslaught. He began experiencing anxiety attacks before checking his phone or email, fearing new accusations or pressure from Amanda's growing army of supporters. He withdrew from social activities and worked remotely when possible to avoid uncomfortable encounters. As the social media attacks intensified, so did the legal threats. Amanda's father, a successful business owner with significant resources, hired an attorney who began sending intimidating letters demanding that Jason fulfill his financial obligations to his unborn child. Jason consulted with a family law attorney who explained that while he could potentially be compelled to take a paternity test after the child's birth, if Amanda pursued child support through the courts, there was no legal mechanism to, one, force her to take a prenatal paternity test. The attorney advised documenting all interactions and maintaining a paper trail of Jason's reasonable requests for verification. During this consultation, Jason shared some concerning inconsistencies he had noticed in Amanda's pregnancy claims. The ultrasound image she had posted appeared to have been cropped to remove identifying information, including patient name and date. When a mutual friend had innocently asked how far along she was, Amanda had given 3 different answers within the same conversation, seemingly confused about her own timeline. Most tellingly, she had declined Jason's offer to accompany her to a doctor's appointment as a first step toward possible co-parenting discussions. Every attempt he made to verify her claims was met with outrage and accusations that he was stressing out a pregnant woman. As legal tensions escalated, the situation took an even more disturbing turn when Amanda's family members began showing up at Jason's workplace and apartment building. Her younger brother confronted Jason in the company parking lot, creating a scene that required security intervention. Her mother called Jason's supervisor, tearfully claiming that her daughter was suffering from pregnancy complications due to stress from abandonment. These escalating harassment tactics left Jason feeling trapped and considering drastic measures to escape the situation, including potentially relocating to another state. The psychological warfare was reminiscent of our childhood, triggering old traumas and coping mechanisms. Just when it seemed the situation couldn't become more complicated, our mother entered the picture. She contacted Jason directly for the first time in years, presenting herself as a concerned parent who wanted to help mediate the conflict with Amanda. "I have been speaking with your fiancée," she wrote in a lengthy email. "She is carrying my grandchild, and I believe I could help you two find common ground. I have always regretted the distance between us, and this baby could be a new beginning for our whole family." The realization that Amanda and our mother were now in regular contact and potentially coordinating their efforts sent a chill through both Jason and me. The pattern was eerily familiar. Our mother had always excelled at exploiting vulnerabilities and inserting herself into crisis situations to regain control over our lives. Jason's response to our mother was brief and direct. "I do not want or need your involvement. Any grandchild would not be a new beginning for you, as you have not addressed or made amends for past behavior. Please do not contact me again." To Amanda, he sent an equally firm message. "I am willing to take responsibility if paternity is established, but I will not acknowledge paternity without verification. The choice is simple. If you want my involvement, a paternity test is non-negotiable." This ultimatum represented Jason reclaiming his power in a situation designed to disempower him, a stand that required tremendous courage given the mounting social and legal pressure. As the harassment intensified, Jason took proactive steps to protect himself legally and emotionally. With his attorney's guidance, he sent formal cease and desist letters to both Amanda and key family members who had been participating in the harassment campaign. The letters clearly outlined the pattern of harassing behavior and stated that any further contact outside of official legal channels would be documented for potential restraining order proceedings. While these letters did not have the force of law behind them, they served as important documentation that Jason had explicitly withdrawn consent for contact and had formally requested that the harassment stop. His attorney explained that establishing this paper trail would be crucial if court intervention became necessary. Jason also made the difficult decision to temporarily relocate, subleasing a furnished apartment across town under a friend's name to create distance from the situation. He arranged with his employer to work remotely for a month, citing personal circumstances, and shared his location only with a handful of trusted people, including me. During this period of physical separation, he focused intensively on protecting his mental health. He deleted his social media accounts to remove himself from the public spectacle Amanda was creating. He established a routine of therapy, exercise, and meditation to manage his anxiety. Most importantly, he began reconnecting with his support system friends, who knew him well enough to see through Amanda's narrative. I was deeply proud of my brother's resilience during this crisis. Despite the temptation to engage with the public accusations or launch counterattacks, he maintained his dignity and focused on legal and appropriate responses. He recognized that engaging directly with Amanda's provocations would only provide her with more material for her victim narrative. "I cannot control what she says about me," he told me during one of our regular check-in calls. "But I can control how I respond, and I refuse to be manipulated into reactions that would ultimately harm me more than her." While Jason focused on self-protection, cracks began appearing in Amanda's carefully constructed narrative. The first indication came through a mutual acquaintance who hesitantly reached out to Jason with concerning information. Tara, who had initially been a friend of Amanda's before being introduced to our social circle, requested a private meeting with Jason. Over coffee in a quiet corner of a cafe across town, she revealed that Amanda had a history of similar behavior in previous relationships. "I should have said something sooner," Tara admitted, visibly uncomfortable. "But I thought maybe she had changed and I did not want to interfere in your relationship based on past mistakes." According to Tara, Amanda had claimed pregnancy in a previous relationship when her partner had attempted to break up with her. That situation had ended when the man's new girlfriend confronted Amanda with evidence that she had purchased fake ultrasound images online, a confrontation that had resulted in Amanda leaving their shared social circle entirely and moving to our city for a fresh start. Tara also revealed that Amanda had confided in her early in your relationship, expressing admiration for Jason's financial stability and career trajectory, rather than any deeper emotional connection. "She talked about you like you were a good investment," Tara explained apologetically. "I thought at the time she was just being practical, but in hindsight." This information, while disturbing, provided important context for understanding Amanda's possible motivations. Jason asked Tara if she would be willing to provide a written statement about her knowledge of Amanda's past behavior, a request she agreed to after some hesitation about getting involved. The second crack in Amanda's narrative came from an unexpected source, our mother. In her continuing attempts to insert herself into the situation, she had been commenting extensively on Amanda's social media posts, positioning herself as the supportive future grandmother. In one such comment, she inadvertently undermined Amanda's entire timeline. "I cannot wait to meet my grandbaby in April," she wrote in response to one of Amanda's pregnancy updates. "When Amanda first told me about the baby back in June, I knew this was meant to be." This casual comment created an insurmountable problem for Amanda's claims. If our mother had indeed been told about the pregnancy in June, then Amanda would have known she was pregnant before the wedding was canceled at the end of June, contradicting her current claim that she only discovered the pregnancy afterward. Screenshots of this revealing comment circulated quickly among mutual friends, raising significant doubts about Amanda's honesty. Though she quickly deleted the comment and restricted our mother's access to her posts, the damage to her credibility had been done. As these inconsistencies became more apparent, Amanda's family's aggressive campaign began to lose momentum. Her father, who had been the most vocal about pursuing legal action, stopped making threats. Her siblings, who had been leaving angry voicemails for Jason, fell silent. It appeared that even those closest to her were beginning to question her version of events. When Amanda missed a self-announced 20-week pregnancy photo shoot with no explanation, then posted about suffering from first trimester morning sickness a week later, an impossibility given her claimed timeline, even her most ardent supporters began expressing confusion in the comments section of her posts. The final unraveling came when Amanda's mother reached out to Jason directly, not with threats or accusations, but with a brief, carefully worded message. "We will not be pursuing this matter further. Please do not contact Amanda again." The message, though cryptic, strongly suggested that her family had finally recognized the truth of the situation. While Amanda never publicly admitted to fabricating the pregnancy, she gradually stopped posting updates and eventually removed all pregnancy-related content from her social media. By the time the claimed due date approached, she had relocated to another city for a career opportunity, effectively removing herself from the community where her deception had been exposed. For Jason, this gradual vindication brought relief but not joy. The experience had fundamentally changed him, altering his ability to trust and forcing him to confront painful parallels between Amanda and our mother, behavioral patterns he had missed due to their presentation in a different context. In the year since the pregnancy claims faded away, Jason has rebuilt his life with intention and care. He remained in the new apartment he had initially rented as a temporary escape, finding that the fresh environment without painful associations helped his healing process. He redecorated the space to reflect his personal aesthetic, rather than the compromise style he had developed with Amanda, filling bookshelves with titles he enjoyed, and hanging his own photography on walls that had previously displayed Amanda's carefully curated couple images. Professionally, Jason channeled his creative energy into his work, taking on challenging projects that required full focus and provided a healthy distraction during the healing process. His dedication resulted in a significant promotion and the opportunity to lead his own design team, a responsibility that has helped restore the confidence that had been undermined during his relationship with Amanda. The experience left him with valuable insights about relationship patterns and warning signs he had previously overlooked. Through consistent therapy, he developed stronger boundary-setting skills and a clearer understanding of his own needs in relationships. Most importantly, he learned to trust his instincts about people's character, rather than dismissing concerns out of fear of appearing judgmental. "I ignored so many red flags with Amanda because I was afraid of seeing problems where none existed," he explained during a recent conversation. "I thought being accepting meant overlooking concerning behavior, but now I understand that healthy relationships don't require that kind of compromise on basic values and respect." Our mother made several more attempts to re-establish contact in the aftermath of the Amanda situation, sending cards on birthdays and holidays that strategically avoided any acknowledgement of her role in the painful events. Jason remained firm in maintaining no contact, recognizing these gestures as attempts to exploit vulnerability rather than genuine efforts at reconciliation. The most profound lesson from this ordeal was one we both internalized. Narcissistic individuals often recognize and are drawn to each other, creating alliances that multiply their manipulative impact. The coordination between Amanda and our mother demonstrated how quickly toxic people can find common cause in attempting to control others regardless of their supposedly competing interests. Jason has approached new relationships with appropriate caution but not cynicism. 6 months ago, he began dating someone he met through a photography group, a relationship that is developing slowly and with mutual respect for boundaries and personal history. He has been transparent about his past experiences without allowing them to define his expectations, striking a healthy balance between wariness and openness. For both of us, this experience reinforced the importance of chosen family over biological connections. The friends who stood by Jason throughout the ordeal, who recognized manipulation tactics and offered support without judgment, proved far more valuable than those who shared DNA but continued patterns of harm. Above all, Jason's journey taught us both that standing firm on personal boundaries, even when doing so is painfully difficult and publicly criticized, is essential for long-term well-being. The temporary discomfort of enforcing boundaries pales in comparison to the lasting damage of allowing them to be violated. Today, Jason is thriving in ways that seemed impossible during the darkest moments of the Amanda ordeal. He approaches life with greater wisdom, stronger boundaries, and a deeper appreciation for authentic connections. The wedding that never happened proved to be an unexpected gift, a painful but necessary redirection toward a more genuine and healthy future. Have you ever had to maintain firm boundaries with family members or partners despite social pressure to capitulate? How did you handle the backlash from those who did not understand your need for these boundaries? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your insights might help others currently navigating similar situations. If this story resonated with you, please like this video to help others find it. Subscribe to hear more stories about maintaining boundaries in challenging relationships, and share with someone who might benefit from knowing they are not alone in these struggles. Thank you for listening to our story, and remember that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is essential for building the life you deserve.